Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritual Boujee Astrology. And we're going to take a look at the astrological transits of January 15th to January 21st. Before we go into any type of recap or look ahead, we needed to go over just a couple of quick little things. I forgot to say this at the beginning of the new moon and Capricorn video, but I did say it in last week's week ahead video. I am running a special on all of my one-on-ones. So you can either do a 30-minute Astro Tarot blended one-on-one for $20, or you can do an hour-long one for $35. One of the things I love about astrology is that there's a time to it. I've done tarot readings for somebody and it not come to full shape for a year and a half. It doesn't come clear for a year and a half. I literally just had that happen recently with one of my friends that I had done a tarot reading for them at the beginning of 2022. And what I said to them then didn't finally make sense until we got to the last part of 2023. And that was a very frustrating energy for them to come full circle on, of whenever I was saying things like, yeah, you're going to end up regretting this. I was like, well, that sounds terrible. I don't know why you would even say that. I don't know why you would even think that. Fast forward a year and a half going, okay, now I get it. It's like, okay. The thing about tarot is there's not always a timestamp. I like using tarot as an additional tool to the astrology, so that way, whenever we have specific transits that they look like they're going to be hairy, they look like they're going to be frustrating, or we want to get some additional insight, whether it's going to just all be internalized energy or external energy, the tarot is an additional tool that we can use to clarify the astrology. So if you're wanting to get guidance in regards to career, in regards to, your personal life, your relationships, things going on with your kids, we want to look at synastry, we're looking at fertility astrology, we're looking at any type of other forms of astrology, my one-on-ones are on special this month, and I'm kind of reminding everybody of that. Okay. Another thing that I'm going to do, I'm really enjoying this Mars and Capricorn transit. And what's been coming through in my meditation is that I have to start doing some additional things, even though I like the size of the channel and I like the fact that I have a one-on-one relationship with just about half the people that listen to me. I know some people like y'all haven't reached out yet. That's okay. But the thing is like I was a personal astrologer before I started doing this podcast. So a lot of my people, they have a really good one-on-one relationship with me. I talk to a lot of the people that listen to this podcast. And I love that. But what my intuition keeps telling me is that I have to grow the channel. I have to take this a step further. And one of the ways I'm going to start doing that, and I'm going to do this week. So I'll put some dates. I'll actually list this on Facebook and Instagram whenever I post for like this podcast episode is up. But the goal is I'm going to start doing some TikTok lives and potentially some one-on-one Zooms and interactive ones that we can do live. So it really kind of comes down to like what everybody's wanting to do. But I will post on Facebook like when those lives are going to happen and what platform they're going to be on. And there will be links for everybody to kind of hop into. So be looking out for that. Now, we have a lot of energy that has just unfolded. And as we finalized the last part of this last week and kind of got into the weekend, there could have been a lot of anxiety for people because what I said is we got closer to the end of the Mercury in Sagittarius to the Mercury in Aquarius, the way they were sextiling one another, is that there could have been this energy of like, we're trying to get something done. We're trying to get something fixed. We're trying to get something figured out. But in some way, shape, or form, we can get to the point as those two were changing signs of asking, am I too late? Is this enough? Do we need more? Is there something that we can do better? And some people had this energy of like not having enough time, not feeling like enough things were getting done, not feeling good in the moment. But the thing is, we were in very temporary energy and we were in that finalization of Mercury going through Sagittarius. On the late hours of Saturday night going into Sunday, Mercury went into Capricorn. When Mercury went into Capricorn, it started the next round of triplicity. What I mean by the triplicity is this week we'll be doing some final closeouts with Mercury. All of them except one. One more will happen later this month. But this week we're going to have that. The way we start the week, we will just have had Mercury at 0 degrees of Capricorn. Actually, at the time that I'm recording this is 0 degrees of Capricorn. We have a lot of things that are going to pick up this week that are going to tie back directly into whatever happened during the Mercury retrograde. And if you've listened to me for a while, I have been saying two things that I'm about to recap right now. One since the middle of November, the other one since the beginning of December. One, the one I've been saying since the middle of November, is we are in transitional energy. And we are starting to transition into something very, very new. However, as we went through December, the transitional energy that we were in was in uncharted territory. And many people were going through the month of December starting to feel lost or confused, either confused in your direction, confused in your situation with another person. We were hitting brick walls. Some of us, it was energetic brick walls. Some of it was like health brick walls. Like, guess what? You got to slow down. We were getting to a point as we got deeper and deeper into December, especially the last week of December, where we hit some type of wall. That wall required us to turn around. The first week of January was the turning energy, turning something around, turning this energy around, turning our focus around. By turning around, we were able to start moving forward again. And little by little, as we got through the second week of January, we were able to start kind of progressing, starting moving again. We had the first little inklings of momentum, a little bit wonky, not all getting all of our steps where we wanted to, but there were forward steps involved. Now, I have said since the beginning of January that we are going to start to pick up a momentum in January. This is the week we're really going to start to feel the momentum. At the beginning of this week, two things that are not necessarily heavy with transit energy, but are still speaking through as to where we're getting momentum. Two things happen on Monday. And that is Jupiter's going to start moving again. Since December 15th, Jupiter has been spinning at 5 degrees of Taurus. Jupiter has been turning something around, turning things around since June, turning things around since the eclipse that we had in October, turning a lot of things around based off of what was undone, very much so, through the Venus retrograde, through this last eclipse season. Like, we have been going through a big energy of purge, and I'm going to come back to that purge energy in a whole other way, especially since July, here in a second. So put a pin in the word purge. We're going to come back to that. Now, we have been in this energy of trying to turn something around and go around. Jupiter is going to start moving again this week. Hope, faith, abundance, truth, lessons and teaching and things that are tied to Jupiter, medical things are going to start moving again. Jupiter has a medical aspect to it. There will be movement, and this is a good thing. One of the other things that also speaks to that, and where we're going to disrupt where there has been frustration, disrupt where things went sour, disrupt where things went wrong, is Mars. Now, there's no transit to Mars on Monday, but the thing about Monday is Mars is going to go over Mercury's point of shadow. Mercury turned retrograde at 8 degrees of Capricorn back on December 13th, right after the new moon in Sagittarius. Mars is going to cross that point this week. If you listen to me in the Capricorn new moon video, I said that for us to fully understand what's unfolding, we need to get through the entire lunar month ahead. But a big portion of what we need to see come to light, what needs to get revealed, what needs to start up, didn't just unfold in that new moon. It actually unfolds a big portion of this week. And actually all through the rest of January. I just say it that way. There's a reason I said the entire lunar month ahead. This is going to be a big week. Now, when it comes to what's getting revealed, we need to talk about the sun and Pluto. And I've got one layman's human effect thing that I need to bring up, especially for my people that are here in North America, that needs to hear something when it comes to Pluto transits. And I want to talk about this now in the intro and not so much in the week, because when I go to the week forecast, I'm going to stick to like the healing energetic energy or the trauma related energy, depending on how that's going to go, because it's Pluto. And I want to talk about something else that I have seen hand over fist over and over again whenever it comes to Pluto transits. The thing about Pluto is Pluto has to do with the underworld. Now, for some people, when you hear underworld, you think crime and gangsta and other type of activities like this. And you are not wrong. That is Plutonian. For some people, we think about death and the afterlife and transformation. And you're not wrong. That is Plutonian. But I want to put a layman's thing to the Plutonian aspect, because I've seen it happen way too often. And it's been hitting my intuition for days that I need to bring this up. Some people, what we go through this next week, it is not going to be the trauma healing. It is not going to be the overcoming. It's not going to be the uncovering of something that's been going on behind the scenes. For some of you, this Plutonian transit is going to be something in your plumbing. Now, the thing about what's going on here in North America right now is we are going through a huge Arctic blast. It is colder in Montana than it is in the Antarctica. I almost said South Arctica. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm sorry, Antarctica. It is colder in Montana. At the time that I'm recording this, it is snowing. Like, I'm not even joking right now. Last time I looked at my phone, it was 5 degrees here in Oklahoma. It's freaking cold. Now, for my Texas people, this is going to trigger some of you. Get over it. Just everybody needs a quick little lesson whenever it comes to Pluto. Pluto affects anything under the actual ground, under the surface. So think sewage lines, think your plumbing lines. This can also have to do with propane for some people. My rural people, this is going to be some propane stuff. But for my people that live in town, you need to think of your natural gas for a second. We had a huge ice storm. I don't know, like 2021 or 2020. About two to 3 years ago, we had a huge ice storm. And when that happened, that was also a very interesting set of transits too. When that happened, there were all of these different energy substations that they got hit really hard. And the thing about this Arctic blast that's different from the last one is they said in the last one that a lot of these stations were not prepared for that type of cold. They hadn't done the levels of maintenance that were required. There was a whole lot of issues. And with knowing that in the historical fact, and knowing that this week's like huge Arctic blast that we're going through is going to last longer, even if it just warms up more in the daytime, we're still going to have these overnights that are going to be super low. There can be something that is tied to energy that affects us in the Sun-Pluto conjunction. And I'm being realistic about that from the beginning. My intuition has been heavy on make sure everything is prepared, make sure everything is sealed up, make sure everything is good to get through this week because it's stupid cold. And I've done every little possible thing that I can think of. That was one of my little anxiety things that I had to deal with. But knowing that, it's still bothering me. And this tells me there's something I need to put up in the podcast, because the human effect is what we're going through, at least here in North America, with this huge Arctic purging energy, is it can literally result in something going on in your cities, in your surroundings, that's tied to things that are going on below the surface. So again, I'm going into pay attention to your plumbing lines, pay attention to, there's always the potential of something going on with sewage or drainage issues or pipe bursts or main bursts. And I don't know why I keep going to natural gas, but like I am. So there's that. Let me pause this for a second. Sorry, guys, I'm still getting over the junk. I didn't want to sit here and keep bringing that up all the way through this week's forecast. So I wanted to actually put that disclaimer in the very beginning. I don't know why, but it's one of those things that's been like really, really heavy on my intuition. I mean, like, I know why, but it's been so heavy to the point that I feel like I need to say something. So if you don't, depending on how everything has gone for you lately, for some people, whatever is about to occur in the Sun Pluto conjunction, it's going to tie back to one of two timelines. And that's going to either be one, what's occurred during this Mercury retrograde, and or two, what happened back between July 17th and July 22nd. And I'll explain both the July 22nd the July timeline and the Mercury retrograde. But I also know that the human effect is that part of what it might uncover next might not necessarily be anything tied to past trauma. It might not be anything tied to healing. It might actually be tied to what's going on behind the walls or under the ground, around your house, in your community, in your neighborhood. Again, I'm just covering bases by saying that. I've intuitively felt like I needed to put that warning out there. So I have. Now, Sun Pluto. From the new moon in Capricorn all the way up to the Sun Pluto conjunction, I have felt like there's going to be two timelines that are very much tied to this. Now, I've been saying since the beginning of December, the Sun Pluto conjunction is going to be tied to the Mercury retrograde. There's something about this Mercury retrograde that directly impacts the Sun Pluto conjunction. And it really comes down to what was going on for you during the Mercury retrograde. Was the Mercury retrograde full of just turmoil and drama? Did you have some type of like fraud situation? I had a lot of people that I had quite a few people with like theft. I've talked about before, there was some things in regards to people's like data getting hacked and stuff like along those lines. There was a lot of things that could have gone wrong during that Mercury retrograde. And for some people, there was that situation. And if you had that negative, hectic situation, then whatever comes to light in the Sun Pluto conjunction is either finalizing and closing out that hecticness. If you had a relationship situation, then you are finalizing and closing out something tied to that in the Sun Pluto conjunction. And or for some people, this is going to go all the way back to July, specifically the week of July 17th to July 22nd. Now, on July 17th, the nodes change signs. And depending on how long you've been listening to me, I talked about this back then. The nodes changed signs and they immediately started to square Pluto. And from July 17th to roughly about August 6th, at least by degree, the nodes were squaring Pluto between 29 and 28 degrees. Now, whenever a planet squares the nodes, whatever direction that planet is heading, that's usually where we start to see the gains or purging. Pluto was retrograde at the time of that squaring. So while the nodes, which always move in a retrograde pattern, were moving backwards, so too was Pluto. And there was this huge emphasis and this huge energy about overcoming fear, overcoming trauma, overcoming the past, and letting things go. Whenever we talk about July 22nd, though, there's two things that happened that day. The first one is not as important as the one that I really want to focus on. So the first one, that's the day that Venus turned retrograde. That happened real late in the evening. It was around 8 to 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. So 8 to 9 o'clock for me. But the way we started that day on July 22nd was the Sun-Pluto opposition at 29 degrees. The Sun was at 29 degrees of Cancer. Pluto was at 29 degrees of Capricorn. And they were squaring the nodes. And if you listened to me back then, I said, this looks like a target. This is an activation point. There's something that is getting activated here that we are not going to understand for quite some time. What came to me in my meditation is that activation point is coming back full circle, because now the sun has squared the nodes again. And since the new moon in Capricorn, because that's where the sun was squaring the nodes, to this conjunction to Pluto, little by little, certain things have been coming to light. And the closer we get to the Sun-Pluto conjunction, more things will come to light for people. Whatever happened on July 22nd was meant to make us face a fear, face a trauma, face a situation that needed to be transformed. We were meant to face something at that time. Some of us, we were forced to face it all over again during this Mercury retrograde. For others, this Mercury retrograde was a test. Have you learned your lessons? If this Mercury retrograde was not terrible for you, then the Sun-Pluto conjunction is very likely to be something about enlightening, facing something, showing how much something has changed, showing so much of what has been transformed. And it is allowing a new level of personal power to be known and expressed to people. For others, though, if this Mercury retrograde or that July timeline or both was a nightmare, was not good, did not go well, has resulted in more confusion between you and another person, that has resulted in, a separation and turning certain things around between you and a relationship, then the Sun-Pluto can be the next form of that. The thing about this week and the Sun-Pluto conjunction that we're going into is that right as the Sun and Pluto hit their conjunction, that's when Mercury leaves shadow. And that's why I keep bringing up the Mercury retrograde. I've been talking about this since December. Whatever happened in the Mercury retrograde directly impacts the Sun-Pluto conjunction. For some people, we are going to have to face a fear and overcome it for the last time. For other people, we are going to come to terms with something that has been triggering and traumatizing for the last time. I do feel like for some people, this week can be momentous, and it can be magnanimous, and it can lead into transformation and personal power and healing. But I also feel like for some people, based off of what has happened in the past, if those timelines that I've spoken about, July or this Mercury retrograde timeline, were hurtful, were negative, were not well for you, did not go good for you, then it's likely wherever we're going next is going to make you come to terms with something for the last time. And the reason I keep saying the last time is because this Sun-Pluto conjunction will be the last Sun-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn. Many of us are going to be doing something, feeling something, facing something for the last time. We're going to get into the charts. I'm going to do my best as we go through the chart to give examples of both positive and negative this week. You know what you went through the last few months. You know what you went through since this summer. You know. If you went through negative things, then this is going to be closing that out. However, if you went through positive energy or you went through reconciliation levels of energy, this is going to feel into that. I'm going to try my best to give examples of both. Okay. So Monday morning, January 15th, I've got this January 15th at 5:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We got two things going on right here. One, the moon is in a sextile to Uranus. So the moon will sextile Uranus between 4 and 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. Simultaneously, the moon is also entering a square from Venus. Venus in this square Venus is in the higher authority. Remember, Venus and Jupiter are in mutual reception. So even if we had some indifference over the weekend, or we didn't quite make something jive, we didn't quite get something worked out, something quite didn't go our way, that's okay. There's something about Monday that energetically leads to connecting to areas that weren't on the same page over the weekend. It didn't have to be the negative when I'm saying that. It could be more along the lines of like, you talk to somebody this weekend, like, yeah, I totally want to hang out, just not right now. I totally want to see you, just not right now. I don't know that this is going to work out. Maybe we can talk at another time. And this energy right here kind of feels like connecting to areas that weren't seeing eye to eye. We're explaining something. We're putting something in motion. We're giving an additional energy as to where connections are that weren't there before. The moon is connecting Venus and Uranus, because Venus and Uranus, we're actually going through a quincunx this weekend. So for some people, some of the anxiety parts, we're also going in like, we don't know why we're not getting something accomplished. We weren't seeing eye to eye energetically with Venus and Uranus. Okay. Now, right as this perfects, Jupiter is going to start moving again. And as the day progresses, Mars is going to cross Mercury's point of shadow. So I've already said this once, I'm kind of reiterating that. Mars will actually cross that point of shadow when we get deeper into the afternoon, whenever the moon does two things. The moon is going to sextile the sun. The sun is going to be in a sextile to Neptune. Now, just to be clear, the sun, Neptune sextile, we feel this all day. And for my intuitive, empathic people, babies, whatever your intuition is telling you to do, you need to listen. This is highly in tune, intuitive energy. And this is one of those things that you kind of have that feeling in your heart, like, I should really call them. Oh, I should go over there. I should check on so-and-so. I should do this. I should make an extra plate for dinner. You don't even know why. Nobody's told you why, but you go ahead and do that. Because the moon coming into this conjunction with Neptune is giving the next level of the reception. And that is, oh, your husband just came home, your wife just came home, and they brought an extra person. Or you take it over to your neighbor. You do that too. Other things right here can be along the lines of somebody, now going on the negative sense with the Sun Neptune sextile, somebody tries to pull off their bullshit. They try to do their lie shit. And they try to say something, be like, oh, you know, like I got that done hours ago. And the moon's like, you didn't do shit. I did it. You didn't do anything. I took care of that. Why are you lying? This is not a good week for people that don't like to tell the truth. The moon's conjunction to Neptune can either be catching somebody in the lie, or it can be that intuitive instinct that came through. For my spiritual people, this is a really good transit. This feels energetically good. We can feel inspired to do a lot of things. And this inspiration immediately attracts attention with the moon. This is a good thing. But if you're trying to pull your bullshit, if you know somebody trying to pull their bullshit, this is not a good transit. And it's not a good week for them. The way we get through this week is by speaking our truth. Okay. As the moon hits the conjunction to Neptune, please note, this is where Mars is going to go over Mercury's point of shadow. It's literally between 2:30 and 3:30 p.m. So parts of this energy can speak to what we were trying to do right whenever Mercury was turning retrograde, but we got distracted because Mercury did something in that retrograde. We can also find that the people that we were trying to connect with at the start of the Mercury retrograde, that it wasn't going very well, that all of a sudden that they can try to, like, they can start to turn their energy. They can turn their focus. So pay attention to those people too, all week, not just during this transit. Okay. After the moon hits this conjunction to Neptune, again, there's the sextile to Pluto. There's the sextile with the sun. The moon will sextile Pluto. That's why I said that. And that's going to go a little bit later in the afternoon. But the exact Neptune Sun sextile, that's going to go exact between 6:32 and 6:54 p.m. So you can see this here. The sun is at 25 degrees and 20 minutes. Here's Neptune, 25 degrees and 21 minutes. This is the most exact with the sun Neptune sextile. So again, if your intuition is telling you to do something, if you are wanting to do something that's kind of inspirational, if you're wanting to do something that kind of captures the attention, you're feeling called to do something, or you're wanting to, some of us are just going to want to binge watch a show. It's Neptune. That's fine. Whatever you need to do in this energy to work through a funk or work through your intuitive message, do it. This is inspirational energy. Okay. Now, the moon is going to sextile Pluto right here. This goes the most exact between 9:30 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is happening as we're going to have a Sun-Pluto conjunction this week. So again, if you got the plumbing issue thing, be aware of what's going on in your plumbing issues. It can suddenly show through right here. If we are feeling something underneath the surface of our own bodies, we can also feel it right here. We can have something that makes us feel a little bit funky, that makes us feel a little bit on edge, that makes us feel like something isn't quite right. And whatever can come through in these few days, once the moon goes into Aries, understand that whatever's been coming through over the weekend is going to lead us to start taking some type of action. It's going to lead to some activity. That activity is tied to the moon going into Aries and going into Mars' sign. The moon is going to go into Aries at 10:49 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I get this at 11:30. Here is the moon in Aries. Again, once the moon goes into Aries, there's going to be a lot more excitement. There's going to be a lot more focus, and there's going to be a lot more movement. We get into a momentum this week. I particularly like this moon in Aries transit because of the state of Mars. Mars is in Capricorn. Mars is in exaltation. Mars is just went over Mercury's point of shadow. We have a whole new purpose here. I like the energy as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday, because most of our moon and Aries timeline, we're going to feel it on Tuesday and Wednesday. So let's get into Tuesday. We're going to get just a couple hours in and right here. So the moon is going to square Mercury between 2 and 4 a.m. Central Standard Time. So we have the moon, 2 degrees, 12 minutes, Mercury, 2 degrees, 31 minutes. You can see this square. This is going on at 2:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. And we can very much feel compelled to take an action. The other thing that's going on in this time span is Venus is going to go through an Antiscia with Mars. Venus is in a very strong place. She's in mutual reception with Jupiter. Whenever you have an Antiscia, this is folding the chart again at the equinox and solstice line, specifically the winter solstice line, so between Sagittarius and Capricorn. And Venus and Mars are going to total out to 30 degrees. Now that actually goes exact to 12:38 a.m. I felt like go ahead and just including it with the Mercury moon square. There is an energy of hopeful action, of feeling very, very compelled and stimulated to react to certain things. There can be a motivation that really sets in. There can be a very social motivation. There can, again, be a lot of busyness and activities. I like this energy. I feel like whenever the moon hits the square with Mercury, Mercury being newly into Capricorn, so not going over new things, actually going over existing things, this kind of feels like there's an action that can finally take place that we couldn't do before. The last time the moon was in Aries, Mercury was retrograde. So Mercury was moving away. We were not seeing eye to eye. We were not connecting. We weren't going to help. We were not going to do something. A lot of this energy is full steam ahead. There is an idea. There is some type of plan. There's some type of strategy going on. Are we all up and strategizing at 2 something in the morning? Not necessarily. Some of us might have a late Monday. Honestly, some of us might be putting some type of plan together real late in the evening on Monday. Our minds can be really busy and it might be really hard to sleep Monday going into Tuesday. So if you're having the busy mental energy, that wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't. But with the Mercury square to the moon right here, there's some type of like push to get something going, push to finally push something forward. Like there is a push in this energy, and it will continue as the moon goes through Aries. Oh, we previously didn't feel supported. We were previously feeling incapable of something not being able to take place. We were delayed in something that is going to finally come through. Now, as we continue, the moon is going to square Mars. I like this too. So we're getting to, okay, January 16th, I got this at 2:30 p.m. between 1 and 3 p.m. Central Standard Time was when we were going to feel this the most exact. Mars, in its exaltation, is going to square the moon in Mars's sign. This is motivating. This is strong. This is calculated. This is purposeful. This is forceful. Now, when I say forceful, that can go one of 2 ways. For some people, this forcefulness can be a reactive energy because it is the moon in Aries. And if you are being pushed to do something that you still don't want to do, the human effect is not everybody is on board with what's going on. That's not going to be fun. And there can be some tensions and arguments that can start to pop through right around here. For other people, though, I feel like the motivation with Mars being in Capricorn and being so strong and finally no longer being snowblind, because he was snowblind for months. I feel like there's a path. This path is motivating. We are motivated to take an avenue, to go a certain way, to get something to go full circle. There's a lot of fun, busyness in the air. There's a lot of excitement in the air. I like the moon in Aries this time, for the most part. I really do. Now, I feel like this is going to be more constructive than destructive than anything else. I really just feel like this is going to be very empowered. It can also be very analytical. We can be very dialed into certain information and certain things going through, and we want actions to go a certain way. Again, motivated, not in the negative sense. Okay. After the moon square with Mars, there's actually not a whole lot going on to Tuesday. So a lot of the energy and the activity happens in the earlier parts of the day, and we're vibing throughout the rest of the day. So that's really good. When we get into the 17th, we don't have anything super busy going on until we get to the afternoon. So I'm actually going to get this to roughly around 1:30, 2:30. There we go, 2:30. Between 1:30 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, Venus is going to trine the moon. This is fire to fire, passion to passion, hope to action. Mars is in a really good spot. The moon is in Mars's sign. We have this energy of how we take something forward, and there is a supportiveness with Venus and the moon. Again, there's an effectiveness here. There's a joyfulness here. The moon is in Jupiter's sign. This can be something that speaks to our faith and it speaks to our hope. There can be this very big support, excitement around the results, vibing with the possibilities. This is meant really, really hopeful. If we are dealing with something negative, I don't feel like this is meant to be negative, but for some people, we can have a negative background to a positive moment. And that can be somebody can finally feel like they can tell somebody something else. Venus in this energy right now, she can finally feel like she can trust, that she can talk to somebody. And if Venus is giving that type of talk about something that's gone on in the past, this can lead to, again, some additional action. But I don't feel like that's going to be the case for a lot of people. I feel like Venus is trying to the moon right here is going to be a lot more of a supportiveness and an excitable energy. There is going to be a lot of fun energy going on. Now, one of the things that is building all day, it does not go exact on Wednesday, is Mercury in its third trine to Saturn. Remember, I was saying Mercury is going to have some triplicity this week. There was a strategy. There were things that we were working on or trying to get a game plan on back at the beginning of December, something that hadn't quite worked out, so to speak. Some of us, it did work out. One element of it worked out, but then later on, another element didn't, or it was no longer supported. Now we can come back to something and we can have this moment with Mercury sextile to Saturn to where we're getting a cohesive, responsible, especially emotionally responsible plan of something with Mercury sextile to Saturn. Now, this does not, again, it's not exact on the 17th, but it is building all day. And I want to bring that into perspective because we have this building while Venus is in this trine. Okay. As we get into the evening time, this is where I feel like we are more likely to have some triggering. So what I explain next, this is going to impact Wednesday evening, but it's also going to affect the overnight hours going into Thursday. This is also going to directly impact whatever's going on in that Sun-Pluto conjunction. This is actually bringing it closer to being revealed. Now, between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. Central Standard Time, the sun is going to square the moon. This is our first quarter moon. We are building something up. The moon is in Aries. There's a lot of excitement. There can be a lot of energy, but there can also be a lot of reactiveness because it is the moon in Aries. The other thing that the moon is starting to do while it's going through the quarter moon is that it is also building into its square with Pluto. And if we are going to have any type of negative energy tied to what's being revealed this week, this is the timeline I feel like it can come through. The first quarter moon is a buildup anyways, because we're building up to a full moon. This first quarter moon is happening in a fire sign. The full moon is going to be in Leo, a fire sign. So we can really feel like a passion and a drive and a fire and again, a reactiveness in the energy that's starting to come through. There can be a lot of excitement. But if you're in the negative, and we've been having a bad situation that went through that Mercury retrograde, if we are trying to get something, figured out, if we are trying to, work on a relationship or figure out if that relationship is going to, go away altogether, this can be some hot-headed energy when we go through Wednesday evening, going into the overnight of Thursday morning. This is either a pivotal moment or a disruptive moment. It leads, and it is meant to be what is revealed, debuted, or recognized. Given that Mercury, again, is still coming into this sextile with Saturn, there is, again, an emotional responsibility, and there's a certain level of truth that's coming to light. There's a certain level of coming to terms with something, that it is time to come to terms with something. Remember, the Sun-Pluto conjunction is also happening in Saturn sign. So we can finally find a voice to come to terms with something. But not everybody deals with rejection well. And that's the human effect. And I think that's what I'm more in fear of for some people. Now, again, the first quarter moon between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. on Wednesday. Overnight, between 12:30 a.m. Central Standard Time and 2:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, that is when Pluto is going to square the moon. What gets revealed, what's coming to light, the energy at hand can be triggering. And again, this trigger is meant to be something that's triggering for the last time. We can have a reactive moment, a combative moment, an argumentative moment that later goes into stability. Because again, in the moment, we're not doing well with rejection. If we have something going on with our elders, this can be, again, it's about the things that are going on below the surface. There can also be something that is about to get revealed to authorities, to an authority figure in our life. There's something about authorities that I was picking up on. And this time, I mean actual like authorities. I don't know why, but it is what it is. Okay. Now, at 2:12 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to go into Taurus. So I'm going to bump this by an hour to 2:30. You can see here's the moon in Taurus. Right after the moon goes into Taurus, this is what I like, is when Mercury and Saturn's sextile goes exact. There's something emotionally stabilizing. Now, the Mercury-Saturn sextile that goes exact between 2:46 and 3:05 a.m. Central Standard Time. When I fast forward it just a few more hours, the moon is going to enter its own sextile to Saturn, but a trine with Mercury. So I'm going to get that to right around here. Now, on the exactness, Saturn will sextile the moon between 10 a.m. and noon. Mercury will trine the moon between 10:30 and 1 p.m. And then immediately following that, the moon is going to conjoin Jupiter. So I'm actually just going to get this to about 12:30 because it's close enough for everything. There can be conversations that are going on, emotionally responsible conversations, conversations with authority figures, putting something in order, putting something in motion, getting something strategized out really, really well. That when we get to a certain point of the 18th, is met with hopeful stability. Jupiter has just started moving again. Mercury and Jupiter are about to have their third and final trine. While the moon is hitting this conjunction to Jupiter, this is a luck energy. So Mercury and Saturn, they offer stability, clear thinking, clear judgment, grandiose communication. There can be, a safe energy for talking about those deep-seated emotions, voicing from a place of emotional security, and laying out a plan can be really well received. And whenever we get to this energy of the moon and Jupiter, it's lucky, it's hopeful. For some people, this conversation is going to then include a third person, and that can be the moon. We've got this part figured out. Okay, great. Fill me in. Great, I'm going to take it to the boss, like that type of energy. We can have this conversation and this situation that is really moving into a good shape. And I have a hard time putting this into any type of a negative form. I feel really good about this particular transit. People that are in positions of authority, people that are in positions of like management, people that are trying to get some kind of like order put together in regards to where they're going next in life. If they're trying to get something in order or strategized in the office, this is a great energy for that. There could have been some excitement the last few days, but this energy right here feels grounded and supported and hopeful and stabilizing on all levels. I really like this energy. Now, when the moon hits a conjunction to Jupiter, this is a luck energy. When Mercury hits a trine to Jupiter, it is also a luck energy. So we have this energy that can come through that if you're trying to manifest something, this is a really good energy for that. So be aware of what you're trying to put together, what you're doing. Where we're trying to get some momentum going. Okay. After this energy here, which I really love it. The moon, still in Taurus, is going to enter a trine from Mars. Now, this goes the most exact between 8:30 and 10:30 p.m. Here is the Mars in his exaltation in Capricorn. He is full steam ahead. He is in a whole new trajectory. He is putting something in motion. He has a plan. The moon is in her exaltation. Like, she's in Taurus. She just had this conjunction to Jupiter. Jupiter and Venus are in mutual reception. This is all really strong, empowering energy. This is all healing energy. Mars in the sextile to the moon is supportive, courageous, grounded, direct yet solid, and motivated by the support that we have just received, motivated by the discussions that have just been had, motivated by the potential of what's to come. Good, bad, or ugly, this is all very motivating. Now, as we get into the overnights of Thursday and into Friday, we have a couple of energies that are starting to build right after the Mars trine with the moon. One, Mercury is about to hit its third trine to Jupiter. Venus is going to square Neptune. And we're also building into this Sun-Pluto conjunction. If you've had a difficult week, there can be some confusion that comes through in the motivation. There can be some elements that are not clear, but I don't feel like that's going to be the case for a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people are going to feel very, very grounded and solid. So we're going to keep moving and we're going to get into Friday. So first things first, this is going to happen around 3:30 a.m. Yes. So we were building to the Mercury trine to Jupiter all day on Thursday. It actually goes exact in the overnight hours of Thursday into Friday. Again, goes into that luck element. So here's Mercury, 3:30 a.m. trine to Jupiter. There is a luck energy here. If you are trying to get something going, if you're trying to turn something around in your finances, if you're trying to get something going in business, this is a really good transit for that. If you're trying to get something turned around in regards to like a payout of some sort, this is a good energy for that. Where we can have confusion comes through with Venus and Neptune. Venus is in mutual reception with Jupiter. Neptune is also in Jupiter's sign. Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces, but it's still, when we put it in this regard, Venus and Neptune are in Jupiter's sign. Venus is in the higher authority. Venus is feeling more empowered. Venus can be stating something that is hopeful and truthful. Mercury and Jupiter is hopeful and lucky and truthful, favorable energy. We are closing something out. We are actually finally getting something going that we couldn't get before. We were trying to get something healed and connected. When were the dates of the last Mercury Jupiter trines? December 7th and December 17th and 18th. It was the overnight hours of the 17th going into the 18th. But I want to talk about the December 7th one. December 5th, 6th, and 7th, while Mercury was in this trine to Jupiter, Venus was in Scorpio, and she was in this opposition to Jupiter. And she was declaring, I want to turn something around. I want to heal something. I want to work through something. I want to connect. But Jupiter was retrograde. Couldn't do it. Mercury was stationing to go retrograde. We couldn't do it. There were things that we were professing and stating and hoping to do that weren't jiving. They weren't connecting at that time. Now that Venus is in mutual reception with Jupiter, the connection is there. It's indirect, but it's there. Venus is in this square to Neptune. This is a great energy to profess how we feel about somebody. Connection, hopeful healing, wanting to express how we care. Speak your truth. Some people will leave this moment really confused because Venus in the Neptune square, it's saying something that it's not easily understood. It can trigger insecurities. It can be truthful, but also leaving you wonder how you continue from here. If you had a negative situation going on in the Mercury retrograde, then this can be that moment where somebody says something to you and they're telling you the truth. They're speaking their truth. They're saying exactly how they're feeling. But the other half of that conversation is, baby, I don't want to do this anymore. And even if you can accept that, there's that other part of you deep inside going, but I don't know what to do next. I don't know where we go from here. And that is going to be something that happens day by day and step by step. Some people will go into Friday and Saturday feeling confused and hopeless and lost because something has fell apart. But what comes out the other side and the level of healing that will come through later will make you feel far more secure in how you continue. For some people, we went through tests during the Mercury retrograde to see if we've learned our lessons. And this energy right here is luck. And it is hopeful. And it is healing. And it leads to transformation. As we continue into Friday, because we're only at 3:30 in the morning, we're building with the Sun conjunction to Pluto all day. It does not go exact on the 19th, but that doesn't mean that the revealing energy can't happen. Given that we're also going to have this Moon Uranus conjunction. Remember, the Sun Pluto conjunction, it starts in Capricorn, but they move into Aquarius literally over the course of the next 36 hours from this moment. The Moon Uranus conjunction can also be something very unexpected and something that's been very surprising. You can have something out of the box, out of the blue, that speaks about the trajectory. Some of us, if we just had that moment of heartache or heartbreak, sadly enough, then we can get to this moment and it's like we're telling somebody and they are completely shocked and shook and like, oh my God. Venus and Neptune are still in their square. So Mercury and Jupiter are still in their trine. We're very much still in this energy. And there is an unexpected element that can come through later in the day with the Moon Uranus conjunction. Now, the human effect is everything could play out at this moment. Everything can play out at any point on Friday because of how these energies are playing out. There can be something very unexpected, unplanned, and this can either be the result of something finally turning around, because this will be the last Moon Uranus conjunction before Uranus turns direct. This can be the sudden break that leads to the final turnaround, that leads to the final understanding. And again, Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. So whatever's about to be revealed can also be in this this Moon Uranus conjunction, just to be clear. Okay. Oh, moving this along. Now, in the overnight hours, this is going to be interesting. Between 11 p.m. on Friday and 1 a.m. on Saturday, the moon is going to sextile Neptune, but the moon is also going to be in a quincunx with Venus. So this is interesting to me. Some people are going to try to pull their lying bullshit again. I'm going to keep that example for a second. But the thing is, Venus and Jupiter are mutual reception. The moon is in Venus's sign. You can tell when somebody's telling the truth or telling a lie. There can be something that comes through right here where you hear something about another person that was unexpected, but what you hear, you instantly know that it's bullshit. You instantly know that somebody's trying to pull the wool over you, because you know Venus, the moon, where it's at right now. Again, Venus and Jupiter are mutual reception. The moon is in Venus's sign. You know better. You know when somebody's trying to pull some shit. And in this moment, you can hear something. So this can happen again, late Thursday evening, going into the Friday overnight hours. There is this energy of, you can hear something really unexpected. You can hear something that doesn't seem real, that seems unfathomable, unbelievable. And if you take a moment to think about it, you're going to realize that's not true at all. Other ways as this play out is, again, you hear something unbelievable, unfathomable, but some element of you knows it's going to be true, but you can't prove it right then. You need a few days. And if that's the case, those few days are not going to happen just in the Sun Pluto. It's even going to go into next week, to be absolutely clear. So be aware of that. Okay. Now, when it comes to the early morning hours, I'm going to get this to 7:30 and leave it alone for a second, because we have a really interesting energy right as the Sun Pluto conjunction is forming. Now, this goes the most exact between 7:44 and 8:07 a.m. Central Standard Time. At 7:57 Central Standard Time, the moon, who is in a trine to Pluto and the sun, is going to go into Gemini. 11 minutes later, at 8:08, is when the sun goes to go into Aquarius. So hear me out on this. For some people, we are going to be the Plutonian person. I'm going to go ahead and put this on me for just a second. Okay. When it comes to the Sun-Pluto conjunction, some of us are going to be the sun, and we are going to be the ones shedding light. We are going to be the ones learning something that has been hidden from us. We are going to be the ones discovering a crime, discovering a trauma, discovering a secret, discovering something that has been going on behind the scenes, below the surface, that you did not know about. Some of you are going to be the Plutonian person, and it is going to be your fear, your trauma, your situation that is going to come to light. For some people, this will be a crime. With the moon's trine to this energy, this tells me that in some way, whatever's coming to light, good, bad, or ugly, there is another energy there. There is a witness. You know, somebody sitting in the kitchen while you're arguing in the living room, that's a witness. That's an audience. So we say audience. For some people, the moon can be the psychological input. It can be the psychological supportive input. There's support with the moon. The witness, the audience, the support. I specifically wrote psychological perspective that can give perspective. A witness, a guide, somebody that helps get through the moment, helps overcome the fear, helps understand in the moment. Giving an example of one aspect of this could be like a couple sitting down for their final therapy, and the therapist is the one like helping them come to terms with what needs to come to light at that moment. Are we all talking to a therapist at 7:30 in the morning? No, not really. But sometimes the therapist is your aunt sitting in the kitchen with her coffee cup going, well, are you guys sick of each other's shit yet? Because I'm sick of the arguing. And something can come to light. For some people, whatever is coming to light can be also being told to another person. But what happens next, because literally this energy goes from immediately final conjunction to moving into another sign. This tells me it's bigger than just what's coming to light. And if we are in the energy of overcoming a fear and overcoming a trauma and overcoming a situation with another person, what happens next can be just telling somebody or telling other people what has changed, what has just transformed. For some people, this is about the transformational energy. For other people, this is going to be very heavy. And again, it's going to lead to whatever happens next. This is arguably the biggest 2 days of the month, the 20th, the 19th, or 3 days, the 19th, the 20th, and the 21st. This is just the morning of the 20th. For a lot of people, there will be a heaviness here. For other people, there will be a transformational energy and something that speaks to personal power. And for a lot of people, there will be a witness or somebody that immediately learns or knows or understands. And sometimes that extra person is like, they're the supportive one anyways. They're like, go tell them what you need to tell them. Go tell them how you feel. Go call them on their shit. Go find out what's wrong with them. Sometimes we need an extra person to push us. But very few of us are going to be going through something in this moment without another person involved, just to be absolutely clear. So again, between 7:30 and 8:30 in the morning, the moon is going to trine the sun and Pluto. The sun and Pluto are making their conjunction. And still within the same hour, both the moon and the sun are going to change signs together. They literally change signs 11 minutes apart. Whatever comes to light, whatever is found, whatever is brought into focus is immediately heard, known, announced, expanded upon, and a busyness starts following this, whether that's viral energy, hello TikTok, hello Facebook, whatever it is, whether it's a viral energy, whether it's breaking news, whether it's a law, there is going to be energies that follow that are very, very loud. Chatter, chatter, chatter. Now, they're going to be in their trine. This is going to be a very revealing morning. And then when we get to right around 4 to 6:30 p.m., the moon is going to square Saturn. The moon is in Mercury's sign. Mercury is in Saturn's sign. The Sun-Pluto conjunction happened in Saturn's sign. And in some way, shape, or form, either the elder, the authority figure, or somebody that is in a place of highness, somebody that we hold in a higher regard, is going to be telling somebody something else. So Saturn square to the moon, or the moon is going to be questioning Saturn. So it's like questioning the authority figure. It's questioning your parents. It's questioning the elder of, what are you going to do about this? Now, here's the thing. The Sun-Pluto conjunction starts in one Saturnian sign, but Pluto is also going to move into Aquarius. So Pluto is also about to come into Saturn's other sign. There is an energy here of like in the middle of like, we're questioning an authority figure. We're questioning the responsibility. We're questioning the boundaries. We're questioning the rules. We're questioning the law. We're questioning the logic. We're questioning. Some of us are being questioned. Saturn's energy. How did we get to this point? How did you find out about this? How did you know? What is it? There's something here. And for some people, this is negotiation. For some people, again, this is questioning. This has an intensity to it. And some of us, we're going to be the moon. Some of us, we're going to be Saturn. Some of us, we're going to be stuck trying to understand what just got revealed. And we're just waiting to hear. We're all in different spots. Now, after the Saturn square, Pluto is going to enter Aquarius just a few hours later at 6:57 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I moved this to 7:30. Pluto is now in Aquarius. Now, this is a lot of movement, a lot of busyness. Something tells me that whatever comes to light, whatever is witnessed, whatever happens, requires additional input, requires some conversation, requires the busyness, requires the questioning, requires the reporting, requires the whatever this is, the chitter chatter, chatter, chatter. And once Pluto goes into Aquarius, it's almost like the confirmation. It is the arrival. It is the confirmation. It is the understanding. It is putting something out there. This is not the first time Pluto has been in Aquarius. And I want to be really clear about something with the Pluto and Aquarius part. When Pluto first went into Aquarius, he only went to 0 degrees. This happened from late March to about the second week of June. It's very, very quick energy. There was something that we felt back during that time that, again, energetically, we weren't ready for. Other people weren't ready for. The situation was not prepared. And there was a reason we needed to go through so much hectic purging energy since the summer. This is taking us back to certain energies that we weren't ready for before, but now are far more ready to deal with. What was different, what happened, what was known, what was expressed, what was changing April, May. Those would be the bigger timelines for most people to realize it, for most people to recognize it. Because again, something that we were close to, but weren't completely ready for in some way, shape, or form, is now coming back to light. It's now coming back around. It's now coming back into the fold. A lot of the energies that we are going to start picking back up on as this momentum continues is going to be picking back up on things that we were trying to do and trying to start up and trying to have last spring, last summer, that we were trying to do them with the wrong person. We were trying to do it in the wrong place. We didn't have all of the training. We didn't have something lined out. And now as we get into January, we're going to start moving forward in this new energy. That can be negative and positive for you. So if you were having the bad situation, if you just hit a wall in your relationship, the way you move forward now is you realize you were a single person. You realize that you don't work for that company no more. You realize that this is not going to be the same, vice versa. If a lot of the energy that has gone on since last summer has been more about like understanding and lessons and the making a space, and you did make the space, that Mercury retrograde that we just went through was again about making the space. Remember, once we get through the Sun Pluto conjunction, this is also when Mercury left shadow. So again, this Mercury retrograde that we were just dealing with, Mercury's leaving shadow. It was a final test to prepare us to make sure we are ready for what comes next. Some of us, we just had a test. Some of us, we're about to have something come to light. And it is going to be a big portion of wherever our focus is going to be as we continue through the first quarter. Now, there is a lot of energy that's coming to light, and there's a lot of energy that's going to unfold. And as we get into Sunday, I want to be super clear for Sunday. A lot of Sunday is a carryover from whatever the hell just happened going into the next day. And it's the busyness, and it's the learning, and it's the talking. And the thing is like, when it comes to the moon, we don't have a whole lot of transits. There's actually no transits really to Sunday except for quincunxes. And what that means is that the moon is not seeing eye to eye with Mercury, but the moon is in Mercury's sign. So this is almost like going like people in those moments of, have you heard? Did you hear about this? No, I haven't heard about this. And it's like being told about something that you aren't ready, that you hadn't heard about yet. For some people, those things that we hear about are going to be hard to recognize. They're going to be hard to comprehend. There will be some people that we're going to hear something and we're not going to want to believe it at first. We're not going to be willing to take that energy at first. We're going to be almost argumentative, like, that ain't true. That didn't happen. Yeah, it did. This totally just happened. Let me show you. The moon is going to quincunx Mercury between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. So 11 p.m. on Saturday and 1 a.m. on Sunday. And then going into the early parts of Sunday, the moon in Gemini is going to hit this quincunx to Mars. This happens between 6 and 8:30 in the morning. After that, there are no other individual transits going on. Mercury has now left shadow. Venus is leaving her square with Neptune. Mars isn't really doing anything. Saturn and Jupiter are in their very loose sextile, but they are all month. And we are still in this Sun-Pluto conjunction. So a lot of the busyness of whatever is going on, a lot of the chitter chatter and busy and telling people things that they don't want to believe, telling people things that they didn't think was real, that, it takes time for them to process. We know somebody just caught in a lie. We know something, it's hard to understand. Some people are going to question, like, who's responsible? And I'm not taking responsibility for this. Why do I say responsibility? Because Mercury and Mars are in Saturn signs. The Sun and Pluto, Saturn sign. Like we've got a lot of things going through Saturn sign. So part of what can get revealed, there can be the questioning of who's in charge, who's responsible, who did it, how did this happen, what brought us here, whether this is in our personal lives of like, well, what do you mean y'all just can't get along no more? That's not right. I don't know why you want to talk about that. I don't know why you would think that way. I don't know why you kids these days, y'all just think you just walk away from everything. I'm talking about like baby boomer talking to Gen Z type energy right there. Like, you kids just feel like you can walk away from everything. For some of us, that's going to be our personal life. For other people, you're going to have this thing that got realized, this other personal power. And again, there's a notoriety that can come to it. There's an expression. There's going to be people talking about. There's going to be a buzzing. And again, it's going to be like, did you hear about so-and-so? I don't know what you're talking about. Who is this? What are you doing? And you're going to be hearing about things you've never heard about before. That's a lighter one. Other people are just going to be hearing things that they don't want to believe. I need time to process. I need time to think about this. This is crazy. What brought us to this situation? I don't know. But Sunday feels very, very much like it is a carryover of the busyness and the conversations and the talking of whatever happened this week. There is no direct transit besides that Sun Pluto conjunction that already perfected on Saturday. So that's a carryover. Mercury leaving shadow, that's a carryover. Venus square Neptune, it's separating. So we're carrying over. Anything about Sunday is like, it's the overflow day. If you didn't have anything grand going on those days, then there's a lot of like busyness and chatter and chit chat and gossip and talking and whatever you want to do. But I feel like there's going to be something very big, whether that is going on in the real world perspective or in the personal life perspective, that is either revealing the fear and the trauma and making us aware and allowing us to start something new, or it is recognizing the personal power, the strength, and the transformation and taking it to the next level. It is overcoming the fear and the trauma and finding a new way to cope. There is a transformation. We are completing something in one way, shape, or form, and we are starting something anew. Be aware of what is getting revealed, because the things that are getting revealed as we get closer and closer to the Sun Pluto, the human effect is it might not all happen on Saturday. The human effect is we can have a lot of things that get revealed over the course of this entire week, that when we get to Saturday and Sunday, and it's just like, it's just busyness of talking about what has just occurred. There will be a lot of busyness involved. I'm very interested to know what it's like for everybody. If you remember what was going on July 22nd, go back through your text messages, go back through your pictures, go back to that timeline, July 17th to July 22nd, the week that the nodes were squaring Pluto, the week that the sun went into an opposition to Pluto. Pay attention to what the themes were for you from this Mercury retrograde. We just had this. December 13th to January 1st, we just went through that. What was the theme involved in that energy? What changes did you make for yourself? What changes were you forced to make in your connections? They're enlightening you to whatever is about to come through with the Sun-Pluto conjunction. And some people are about to start whole new chapters in their life. Are you ready for that? Are you prepared for that? Do you want that? Change is coming. We all have some coming. Anyways, I love and appreciate every single one of you. Like I said, I will post on Facebook and Instagram when I'm going to do the lives. If you want to book a reading with me, my contact information is in the description. You can email me. You can message me on WhatsApp. I don't have a link to WhatsApp, so I apologize for that. But there are links to Facebook and Instagram, so you can always message me through there. So I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Have a great week, guys. Subscribe.